Dear students, I hope you are all well and studying in your home. Few weeks ago, we will discuss about the metals and non-metals and their characteristics and some properties also. Today, we discuss on their reaction with water. Let us see how metals and non-metals react with water. Sodium metal is very reactive. It reacts vigorously with oxygen and water. A lot of heat is generated in the reaction. It is therefore stored in kerosene. So, a question in your book will be given that why sodium is kept in kerosene. Okay, so it is very reactive metal and react with oxygen very vigorously. So, it is stored in kerosene. Okay, so there is a demonstration activity in which you have to take 20, 250 ml beaker or glass tumbler, fill half of it with water. Now carefully cut a small piece of sodium metal. Dry it using filtered paper and wrap it in a small piece of cotton. Put the sodium piece wrapped in cotton into the beaker. Observe carefully during observation, keep away from the beaker. When reaction stops, touch the beaker. What do you feel? Has the beaker become hot? Test the solution with red and blue litmus paper. Is the solution acidic or basic? Okay, so if you do this activity, you will find that you feel that the beaker has become hot. Okay, and a litmus paper activity. You observe that sodium reacts vigorously with water. Some other metals do not so. For example, iron reacts with water slowly. Generally, non-metals do not react with water, though they may be very reactive in air. Such nonmetals are stored in water. For example, phosphorus is very reactive non-metal. So, if we talk about non-metal, phosphorus is very reactive. It catches fire in if exposed to air. Okay, metals we read about it react in water vigorously, but non-metal phosphorus react with air. Okay, to prevent the contact of phosphorus with atmospheric oxygen, it is stored in water. That's why it is stored in water. Now we read about the reaction with acids. Let us see how metals and non-metals behave with acids. You have to do an activity. Okay, take samples of metal and non-metals listed in table 4.5 in separate test tubes and label them as A, B, C, D, E, and F. With the help of a dropper, add 5 ml of dilute hydrochloric acid to each test tube one by one. Observe the reaction carefully. If no reaction occur in the cold situation, warm the test tube gently. Bring a burning matchstick near the mouth of each test tube. Repeat the same activity using dilute sulfuric acid instead of dilute HCl. Repeat the same activity using dilute sulfuric acid instead of the dilute hydrochloric acid. Record your observation. Okay. Reaction of metal and non-metals with acids. Test tube label ABCD. Magnesium if react with dilute hydrochloric acid, what will be happen at room temperature? Okay, when it is warm, what will be happen? So and reaction with dilute sulfuric acid. So you have to do two activities in it. Is there a difference in the way metals and non-metals react with acids? What could the pop sound in some cases be due to when a burning match stick is brought near the mouth of the test tube? You must have found that non-metals generally do not react with acids, but metals react with acid and produce hydrogen gas. So, this line is for you that metals react with acids and produce hydrogen gas that burns with a pop sound. So, hydrogen gas is the gas which burns with pop sound. Okay. You must have noticed that copper does not react with dilute HCl even on heating, but it reacts with sulfuric acid. Now we see the reactions with bases of metals and non-metals. Prepare a fresh solution of sodium hydroxide in a test tube by dissolving 3-4 pellets of it in 5 ml of water. Drop a piece of aluminum foil into it. Bring a burning match, stick near the mouth of the test tube. Observe carefully. Actually, this chapter is based on the all lab related activity, laboratory related activity. So you have to put your effort to understand it nowadays. Okay. What does the pop sound indicate? As before, the pop sound indicates the presence of hydrogen gas. Metal react with sodium hydroxide to produce hydrogen gas. Reaction of non-metals with bases are complex, something complex. Okay. First, we read about the displacement reaction. As you see the name displacement as name suggests, okay, one thing is replaced by other. Okay, if you read this, recall the activity of the reaction between copper sulfate and iron that you performed in class 7th. Let us observe some more reactions of that kind. Take 500 ml beakers and label them A, B, C, D, and E. Take about 50 ml of water in each beaker. Dissolve in each beaker a teaspoonful of each substance as indicated in figure 4.6a. Keep the beakers undisturbed for some time. Record your observation in your notebook. Okay, this type of observation you have to do. In first beaker, copper sulfate CuSO4 plus zinc granule is mixed. In second, copper sulfate plus iron. In second, zinc sulfate plus copper, iron sulfate plus copper in D, and zinc sulfate and iron in last beaker. What changes do you observe in the various beakers? You have read that one metal displaces another metal from its compound in aqueous solution. In beaker A, zinc replaces copper from copper sulfate. Okay, that is why the blue color of copper sulfate disappears and a powdery red mass of copper is deposited at the bottom of the beaker. The reaction can be represented as follows. Okay, in first reaction, copper sulfates react with zinc and zinc replace this copper. Okay, displace this copper from its solution and it become ZnSO4 and red color of copper is seen. You can write down the reaction taking place in beaker P in a similar manner. Okay, so now you understood the reaction take place in beaker A and B, but you confused about C, D, and E. Okay, there could have been displacement of zinc by copper in beaker C and by iron in beaker E. Similarly, iron could be displaced by copper in beaker D. Since we do not see any changes in beaker C, we can infer that copper is not able to replace zinc from zinc sulfate. But why? When zinc can replace copper in beaker A, why cannot copper replace zinc in copper C? So you have to remember that science is not arbitrary. Okay, it follows definite rules based on facts. In high classes, you go through in detail about that. Okay, something is given here, and the rule here is that zinc is more reactive than copper and iron. So your answer, you will get your answer that zinc is more reactive than copper and iron. A more reactive metal can replace a less reactive metal, but a less reactive metal one cannot replace a more reactive metal. So it is a normal known thing. Okay, you can easily understand it. Now you can understood why there are no displacement reaction in beakers D and E also. Can you guess the sequence of metal from more reactive to less reactive among zinc, iron, and copper? Okay, you have to guess that sequence of model. For this, you have to go through the reactivity series, which you read in your next classes. So now we move to the use of metal and non-metals. You should be able to guess why metals are used in making machinery, automobiles, aeroplanes, trains, satellites, industrial gadgets, cooking utensils, water boilers, etc. You are also familiar with the uses of non-metals. Okay. Non-metals is essential for our life, which all living being inhaled during breathing. Non-metals used in fertilizers to enhance the growth of plants. Non-metals used in water purification process. Non-metals used in the purple colored solution which is applied on wounds as an antiseptic. Non-metals used in crackers also. You can add more examples also. In class 7th, you have learned that in a chemical reaction, new substances are formed. These substances are different from those which underwent the reaction. Now, if a substance cannot be broken down further by chemical reactions, by cooling, heating, or by electrolysis, it is called element. Sulfur is an element. So is iron. Carbon too is an element. The smallest unit of element is atom. A sample of an element contains only one kind of atom. The atom of an element remains unaffected by physical changes in the element. For example, an atom of liquid sulfur would be exactly the same as the atom of solid or vapor sulfur. Although we have infinite variety of substances in the universe, the number of elements forming these substances is limited. There are no more than 94 naturally occurring elements. An important classification of elements is in terms of metal and non-metals. Most of elements are metals, the remaining are either non-metals or metalloids. Okay, which are a mixture of that. Metalloids possess character of both metal and non-metal. So now this chapter is completed of your. You have to go through the chapter and reference what you have learned in this session, in this class, okay, in this chapter, and keywords you have to remember, and exercise we already started, and complete whatever given. Okay, and you can do only on book what the questions are given in the form of objective. Okay, statement correct, true false, and fill in the blanks you can do in your this book also with the help of pencil only. Okay, this type of question also. Thank you.